now I've got you trying to order me a Pro grill for it because I'm ridiculous.
They look cool.
It's going to look cool. Right. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
You're listening to the Auto Advice Podcast, brought to you by Toyota of Cool Springs.
Hey guys, welcome back. We are here with a very special edition for you today. We are talking about customizing your brand new Toyota, even your pre-owned Toyota. My name is Ashley Calderon. I'm one of the finance managers here, and today with me I've got Mr. Roman Cobb. He is our accessories and parts manager here. He handles all the customizations that we do here at Toyota of Cool Springs. How are you today, Roman?
I'm doing it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm ready to rock and roll.
You ready to order me some parts for the Sequoia?
Whatever you want.
I mean, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. That's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into customizing these cars? Because when I first started here, and I'm talking about ordering cars, and they're like, get with Roman, get with Roman, get with Roman.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I guess it started when I was 16 years old and old enough to drive and started messing around with the cars.
Yeah.
And you just pick up little things along the way, and now we're here.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing stuff like that and all kinds of stuff.
I started probably, high school. I think all of my friends were into the mini truck scene, back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
That was a thing. Everybody had these slammed trucks and
that was big.
Lots of chrome. I'm so glad that went out of style.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that went out of style. It's been a long journey, and I don't know about you, but I've found that like a lot of people, they use their clothing or their home or whatever it is as like an extension of their own personal style. I'm seeing more and more people who are wanting to take advantage of that with their vehicles. And so I figured we could have a chat about what we do here and how we can kind of help people customize their cars. Like me personally, I get a lot of people that come in here that are kind of discouraged because maybe we don't have the exact car that they're looking for.
Right.
And I don't think that a lot of people realize that you can literally create anything that you want your car to be just by throwing some different wheels on it or adding leather and heated seats to a car that shouldn't actually come with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah, you don't have to have necessarily everything on the vehicle from the factory.
Yeah.
Right, because a lot of the stuff can be added on after the fact.
Right.
Even stuff that, Toyota themselves at the factory doesn't offer.
So I think that one of the questions that we get asked really frequently is, how can you actually customize your new vehicle?
Right.
So, like, what are some of the things that you see the most often that people are asking for just in general?
You get a lot of truck accessories, a lot of people wanting to lift their trucks.
Yeah.
Tundras, Tacomas, 4Runners, Sequoias. Most people want the bigger tires on the truck. They want the better stance.
Yeah.
A little bit wider stance on there.
I think they handle better, too, once they've been lifted and they've got the more aggressive tires and stuff on it. I noticed that both with the 4Runner and even with the Sequoia. Once they were lifted and they had the bigger tires on it, I just felt like it was more secure, even though you would think the opposite with a lifted vehicle, that you'd feel like you're more wobbly or top heavy. But it's not. I'd still drive it like I stole it. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a lot of fears about putting, different types of accessories on their vehicle, and I kind of go over that with everybody. Right. One of the big things is, are these tires going to be super noisy on the vehicle?
Yeah.
Because you would think with an aggressive tread pattern like what people are looking for, it would be noisy.
Yeah.
But as long as you go with a specific tire, something that I can help you out with, you're not going to have any type of noise.
Like I noticed I had the Nittos on the 4Runner and we've got the Toyos on the Sequoia, and both of them have been relatively quiet for what you would expect for a beefier tire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk about like some of the accessories that would take a little bit longer time to get here for somebody who is wanting to kind of change up the vehicle before they even pick it up.
Right. So let's take, for example, a Tundra. Okay. If someone says, I want lift wheels and tires put on the truck.
Yeah.
And I want it put on before I pick the truck up.
Right.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I sit down and I have a conversation. How do you plan on driving the vehicle primarily? Yeah. Because you have to figure out, if you're just going to be
a
driving
princess?
back and exactly. If you're just taking the kids back and forth to school and going to the grocery store or whatever, then we can get one type of lift.
Right.
But let's say you hunt or you fish or you do go off-road, then you need to go with another type of lift.
Right.
So we have to figure those things out before we even start.
Right.
Then We'll order up the parts, exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And we try to get it on the truck before they pick it up.
Right.
And the good news is you can finance all that stuff into the deal.
Mm-hmm.
You
Do it
don't
all
have
the
to
time.
come up out of your pocket $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, whatever it ends up being.
I'm telling you.
And you could just pay a little more on your payment each
Yeah.
month. It's no big deal.
Yeah, it's definitely easier. There's been, especially since the market is kind of leveled out, we don't see the massive over MSRP that people were paying for cars. Like when COVID first hit and stuff, it's really opened the market back up for people to be able to add these accessories to the price of their vehicle and finance them into it. I know that when we were building out the Sequoia, because we had, I think the one that I originally ordered was a limited, and I got lucky. We'd picked out wheels and tires and what lift and stuff that we were going to do to it, and then I got lucky that this one ended up not being picked up by the person that was supposed to buy her.
Right.
And I don't even want to talk about how much money we've put into this thing, but because it hurts my feelings. But yeah, I think I bought it that Monday, and we had the lift and tires and stuff were here that Friday.
Oh, right.
And you guys got that stuff done in like a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, super fast.
Most of the time, once the parts come in, yes, we can get it knocked out within a day. Sometimes it might carry over into the next one, but for the most part, we get it knocked out in a day.
But we do the majority of the accessories and even the lift and tires and stuff like that. We can do the majority of that stuff here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And if we have to outsource it, obviously, like if we're just backed up and we need to get something done quickly, we do have a place that we can take it to help out with like the lift and the tires part of it. But
That's
we
right.
try to do the majority of it here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all of our technicians can handle pretty much anything that you want to throw at a vehicle. Pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Now, there are some customers that have went above and beyond, and we've really had to get involved, and I have had to farm it out to another place because they have done stuff like that before.
Right.
If it's like a large, 6 or 8 inch lift, something where you're going to have to start cutting on the frame of the vehicle, right? We don't normally do that stuff here, so I want the pros to do it.
Right.
And they do it for us, and it's, it's great.
Yeah. I know that, like, on the 4Runner, when I bought it, I had, all the bells and whistles and stuff in my previous car. I didn't want any of that stuff on the new one. I was like, it's a 4Runner. We're going to take it off-road. We're just going to try to tear it up as best as we can. And I know that a lot of people don't realize that you can add, like, heated seats, ventilated seats. You can add leather to a car that doesn't have it. I think that we've done sunroofs on cars that weren't supposed to have it. I feel like there's a lot of customers that don't necessarily realize that there's features that they'd like to have on a car, but in order to get those from the manufacturer, you also have to get a whole bunch of other features that you may not know how to operate. You may not have any desire to operate them. And so they get kind of discouraged or end up buying a car that's way outside of the price point that they were looking for, not realizing that we can send it off and get the leather heated seats added to it. Or, if it's you want a sunroof but you don't want leather and things like that, those are all things that we can kind of take care of here as well.
Exactly. And then you may end up coming out cheaper than what you would have upgraded to the next package. Or you may get exactly what you want instead of having to settle for what Toyota's put on the vehicles. I mean, it's a win-win either way.
Absolutely.
You can have a base model vehicle with exactly what you want on it for not as much money as upgrading.
Yep. And then it's unique to you. You're comfortable driving it. You feel good getting in it every day. You're not going to see the exact same car on the road as yours. Like, I know for me, I had wanted a new Sequoia. And, I mean, I liked the previous body style personally. But when we started talking about building out mine, and our other owner, Chris, was like, oh, yeah, you can put a lift on it, everything else. And I was excited because when I did lift the 4Runner, I just did the standard ready lift with blocks, and it was fine. It still did well on the off-road, but you didn't have as much travel in the rear shocks, and it had kind of a rough ride to it. So we've got, an Icon 3-inch lift on the Sequoia. We did 20-inch fuel wheels.
That's right.
Like a millimeter shy of 35-inch tires.
Right at it, yeah.
Did a full chrome delete, D-badge, tinted the tail lights.
Yeah.
Now I've got you trying to order me a pro grill for it because I'm ridiculous.
They look cool.
It's going to look cool.
Right.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I pulled into the Publix in Murfreesboro a couple weeks back, and I'm sitting here. It's dark outside, and there's this guy just standing outside of his vehicle, just kind of staring at me, and I'm like, "What are we doing, boss?" And so I get out, and he's like, "What is that?" I was like, "It's a Sequoia." And he was like, "That is the baddest Toyota I think I have ever seen." And I was like, cool, man, thanks, but we have a plethora, really, of kind of show-stopping vehicles that even our employees drive.
That's right.
I know that most of the guys on the finance team here with me, Trey and Yuri, I mean, they've both got their Tundras, modded out, lifts, tires. Of course, Yuri's is bigger because he's extra. It's fun. But I think that what's exciting, like for me, especially being here at this store specifically, is the unique quality that we have our own specialty package that we do on some of these brand new vehicles when they come in. Was it the TCS-X package?
That's right.
So tell me a little bit about what the standard is kind of for some of those vehicles.
Sure. So the TCS-X package, it's usually something that I come up with.
Yeah.
I'll pick out the lift, I'll pick out the wheels and tires for what I think fits and will look good on the vehicles themselves. So this does two things. One, it gives a customer the ability to buy everything, not have to worry about anything. They come in, they see an awesome looking truck, I want that.
Yeah.
And they grab it.
Yeah.
Or it gives other customers the ability to see, hey, these guys are doing these types of customizations on these vehicles. I like the look of this truck,
right,
but maybe I want different wheels on it.
Right.
Right? Or maybe I want to add a set of fender flares on this
Right.
one. So it gives people ideas
Yeah.
to customize their own vehicle the way they want to do
Yeah.
it.
And we do it a lot. I know that we have several Tundras. There's been several Tundras that have come and gone just in the last couple of months. I think there's a 4Runner out there right now. I haven't seen a whole lot done with the Tacomas, but maybe we just haven't had the inventory to do that at this present moment. But what do you think the most commonly TCS-X package is, like as far as our cars? Which ones do we probably do the most of?
The ones we do the most of are the trucks. It's the Tacoma, it is the Tundra, and it's the 4Runner.
Yeah.
And the packages will typically consist of a 3-inch lift,
Okay.
bigger wheels and tires. Sometimes I'll put a grill on a truck.
Yeah.
Sometimes a roof rack. I'll usually take as much chrome off of the vehicle as I can.
Yeah.
The emblems, different things like that, just because that's the current style right now.
Right. Right.
Chrome was the style way back in the day.
Right.
Most people don't like it now.
Yeah,
They
they like
either
a
want
little more
black
low-key.
accents or
Yeah.
they want painted accessories. So you have to stick with the style that's going on now.
Yeah.
And that's typically what we do.
Yeah.
Now, we can do other things with other vehicles too.
Yeah.
Not as much as some of the trucks.
Right. Like we're not going to lift a Camry.
Exactly. But we can put a set of wheels on a Camry.
Mm-hmm.
We can black out some of the chrome that's on the Camrys.
Right.
We'll tint the windows. We'll maybe do some audio stuff.
Yeah.
There's different things. There's lots of things
Yeah.
that you can do to these
Yeah.
vehicles.
Would you say that there's a ceiling, if you will, as to what you can really do to a Toyota?
I wouldn't say there's a ceiling.
Yeah. Maybe a limit as to what you should do, but
Maybe, but that's typically just whatever the
Yeah.
customer wants, right? If they have an idea in their head of what they want to do, then I can steer them in the direction of how to get that.
Right.
You may want like a 12 or 14-inch lift on your Sequoia or something like that,
Yeah.
right? But
let's talk about why that's a bad idea.
once you find out what you have to do to the Sequoia, you'd be like, maybe I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the things that, like, hands down, we don't do as far as customization? Obviously, I think when I had the 4Runner, my husband was like, let's put a supercharger on it. And, obviously our cars come with the lifetime powertrain warranty, all the new Toyotas. So there's certain things that we want to limit as far as not inadvertently voiding or restricting that lifetime warranty policy for the powertrain. So for people who are trying to be cautious and make sure that they're utilizing what they're getting with their car when they buy here, what would your advice to those people be? Like, what kind of limits would you say, hey, don't go beyond X? I know that the leveling kit, for instance, doesn't really have any effect on it.
No.
Toyota is pretty used to their vehicles being modded out. People have been jacking up Tacomas since the 80s.
Right.
So what would your advice be to stay away from if you're wanting to make sure that you continue to utilize the warranties that come with the vehicle?
So this is a good time to talk about aftermarket parts as they relate to your warranty. So there is a law out there called the Magnuson-Moss Act.
Yep.
Right? And it basically says that whatever aftermarket modifications you do to the vehicle, if that modification causes a failure, then the warranty is not going to cover it.
Correct.
Right? So if you put a leveling kit on a vehicle and our technicians can point to that as the reason why one of your shocks blew,
Right.
then Toyota's not going to cover the shock.
Correct.
But if your transmission goes out or your radio stops working,
Right.
it has nothing to do with it.
Correct.
Everything is still intact.
Right.
And then as far as what I caution people when they're maybe going a little bit extra, trying to go a little too far, I tell them this.
Yeah.
Right? Is it worth giving up your warranty if something
Right.
happens?
Right.
Right? Because like you said with say a supercharger,
Right.
Toyota no longer makes superchargers for their
Correct.
vehicles. They used to. Now the manufacturer is still out there producing them, and you can add them to certain Toyotas, but there is zero warranty. The Toyota
Right.
will not cover anything
Correct.
if something happens.
Right.
Not saying that it will,
Right.
but if something happens, Toyota's not going to pay for it.
Right. Yeah, it's operating beyond the scope of what Toyota intended it to operate under. Puts additional stress on the components and things like that. And
Exactly. It's like anytime you go over, say, about a 3-inch lift, if you
Yeah.
start going up to that 6-inch mark,
Yeah.
right? Most of the aftermarket manufacturers tell you to cut out part of the cross member that's there
Right.
to put in their own cross member. So now you're talking about cutting on the frame.
Right.
And that's a big deal. Most people may not know that.
Yeah.
And so when I tell them this, they're like, okay, maybe I don't
not.
want to do that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then you got some people that do, like
Yeah.
Yuri.
Yeah.
We put a 6-inch lift on his truck. He's like, you know what? I don't care. Let's
didn't
do
care.
it. He wanted 37-inch tires on his
But
Tundra.
his truck looks amazing.
It does look good.
It looks
He's
really
had
good.
it on for a couple of years
Yeah.
now, and no problems.
Yeah. It's all about, like what risk you're willing to take in order to truly customize the vehicle and personalize it to what you really want it to be. I mean, it's an expression just as much as anything else is. And, some people spend their money on houses and purses, and those of us in the car business bury it in our vehicles, and, it shows.
Well, that's the thing. If you're a car guy like me,
Yeah.
it never really ends.
No, it doesn't.
You just keep throwing money at stuff because you can't stop yourself.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. You're like, hey, I need this light bar or that grill or new headlights when mine work just fine. Yeah, it's a never ending. It's just a black hole. Yeah.
Just is what it is.
It's fun though.
I like it.
It's definitely fun.
I'm going to keep doing it. I'm not complaining.
No, never, never. I don't think there's anything better in the world feeling when you're driving down the road and you see some guy get smacked by his wife in the passenger seat because he's checking out your vehicle, and in her mind she's going, there goes the wallet, there goes the checkbook, now he's trying to buy something else, and you're just like,
It's
yeah,
just
I built
money.
that. It's just money.
You can't take it with you.
Nope. Spend every
ahead.
dollar you got.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's gonna make a lot of Dave Ramsey people in this area mad.
But
It's fine.
they'll be okay.
It's fine.
They're
They'll be fine.
probably not car guys.
No, probably not, and that's okay. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what would you suggest? I know me personally, what I tell people that are wanting to start building out their vehicles, but what would you tell somebody that's kind of wanting to think about modifying their vehicle, but they really don't know anything about it, they don't know where to start? Like, what's some kind of best practices, if you will, as far as where you should actually start? Like, should you start with a entire picture in your head of what you want it to look like, or like where's your starting point, I guess?
Yeah. And I get this all the time. I get a lot of customers in here that like they have an idea in their head, or they've seen other vehicles out there, or maybe on the lot,
Yeah.
or just driving around or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, that looks cool. I
Right.
want to do that, but I don't know what it takes to get
Yeah.
there. And that's where I come in.
Yeah.
I've done so many of these vehicles. I've got it. I mean, it's narrowed down to a science.
Yeah.
This is what you do if you want this look.
Yep.
If you want more, then we'll have to do some more stuff.
Right.
Right? So, keep it kind of basic if
Yeah.
this is what you want.
Yeah.
And most of the time, a lot of people are like, I just want the lift. I just want some tires. I'm like, cool.
Yeah,
And then
we
they
can
give
do
me
that.
the keys,
Yep.
and I'll pick out everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will say, okay, I want to pick the wheels out, which that's fine.
Yeah.
I give them parameters as far as sizes,
Yeah.
offset of the wheels, lug pattern, different things
Yeah.
that they can take a look at online
Yeah.
and see, okay, that looks good.
Yeah. Pick it out. Let me know.
Yeah. And then I find the stuff, get it here, and we install it.
Yeah. So it's funny that you were talking about like the tire sizes and the wheel size and the offset and lug patterns and things like that. So I have a 4Runner page on Facebook that I'm an admin for, and one of the things that always makes me giggle is when people get on there and they start talking about all the things that you have to do in order to fit 34s on your 4Runner or whatever the case may be. And the commonality that I've seen is that when people switch from the Toyota wheel that came on the vehicle and they go with a wheel that may have a wider base to it, whatever the case may be, if it is anything outside of what the standard manufacturer's rim specifications are, that's where they're starting to run into the issues where they're having to do a body mount chop in order to fit those 34s. So can we maybe talk about the importance, if you will, of sticking with at least the wheel size and how that can affect the overall performance of what it is that you are going to do to the vehicle? Because obviously you can fit wider tires. You don't have to have the rubbing issues. You don't have to do body mount chops and things like that to the vehicle in order to avoid the rubbing, as long as you stick within certain specifications and don't go way out in left field with it.
That's right. So the perfect size tire that people like to run on the 4Runner is the 285/70/17. You see it all over the place. People tooting this size tire, and it looks good on there.
Yeah.
As far as wheel sizes, obviously you have to stick with a 17-inch wheel. Right. The width is not as important.
Right.
As long as you're somewhere between a 8-inch to a 9-inch wheel, you're going to be fine. The offset is another thing that a lot of people don't even know about, but you have to take that into consideration too. And with the 4Runner, I like to stick somewhere around a 0 offset, maybe even push it out to like a -12 or -15 or so, just to give you that extra little poke that you're looking for.
Right.
And with 285/70/17s and a 3-inch lift, you typically don't have to worry about any type of rubbing.
Right.
Sometimes you might hit a mud guard or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might hit a fender. Exactly.
Yeah, pull them off.
There's ways of getting around it.
Yeah.
There's little small things you can do as far as trimming or tucking stuff away just to get it out so you're not having any type of rubbing issues.
Yeah.
Now, if you push over that, then you're right.
Yeah.
You're going to hit the body mount. And some people, when you start talking about cutting on the frame, they're like, I don't want to do that. And then some people are like, you know what, run it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we cut it and make little plates and weld them in, and then we can do it.
We have a customer right now that bought a Sequoia Friday night. And I had reached out to you. He came and he was like, hey, do you have the Sequoia here? I've got people that want to look at it. And I get it all the time. I think that mine is outside of Chris's when you guys did his, probably one of the only Sequoias that we've really done anything with. And so everybody wants to see it. And I have to remind myself to drive it to work often so that people can look at it. And I got to keep it clean. But we've got a customer right now that's definitely wanting to put some beefier tires on his Sequoia that he just bought. So we need to get together because we need to pick out his tires. He's ready to get together, but let's say on the new Sequoias and I mean really any of the vehicles, really what is the limit, if you will, as far as how big you can go from the standard issue tire size that's on the vehicle without having to lift that vehicle? Right.
So I get this question all the time.
Yeah.
Right. How big can I go without lifting it?
Yeah.
Or how big can I go with this size lift?
Right.
It comes up constantly.
Yeah.
And it's so varied that like a lot of times I don't have the answer.
Right.
And if you're just wanting to upsize the tires on a stock vehicle, I will usually tell people don't go up more than a size or so.
Right.
Because if
It's
you do,
safe.
you're going to run into something.
Yeah.
Just stick with something slightly bigger, maybe an all-terrain, a little more aggressive tread on there. That's going to give it a little
meat.
a little meat to it.
Yeah.
That might add just a little bit of height to it. But if you're wanting something bigger, you're going to have to lift the truck.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
Yeah.
And if you're wanting to keep the stock wheels, a lot of times with stock wheels, the offset is too high.
Right.
So if you want to keep them and don't want to go with aftermarket stuff, we end up having to get wheel spacers to push it out to give us more room to be able to run a larger tire. It's a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And unless you've done this or did tons of research to find out what other people have done, you're not going to know.
Yeah, and everybody likes something different, and I think that's the cool thing about being able to customize your car, is because there's so many options that are available to you. I've seen, especially coming out of this store, I've seen white Highlanders where we did the two-tone like the Range Rovers and stuff, and we've got the top of it wrapped in black, and we'll throw the black wheels and stuff on it. It changes the entire dynamic of the vehicle. The vast expansive options that there are that you can do, and stuff that obviously the people here at this store were accustomed to doing. Like, it's, some of this stuff we can kind of figure out in our sleep. Like, somebody says, hey, look, I've got such and such Tundra coming. I just ordered it to be here in 2 or 3 weeks. This is kind of what I've got in mind. We've got you, and it's literally a text or a phone call away, and your little brain is just back there going 90 to nothing, like, this is what we can do to it, and you've got so many options available for people. So I guess, where would you say you come in? Like, what is your favorite part of it? Do you get as excited as the customer does when they're like, here is my baby, make it perfect?
I don't know. You kind of get desensitized once you've done like 100 trucks over and over again.
Yeah.
And
it's not yours.
And it's not mine.
He doesn't get to look at it in the driveway.
Right. So, the most that I get out of it is helping somebody out.
Yeah.
Is seeing somebody else be excited about doing something to their vehicle. That's what really gets me going. Yeah. That's what I like the most, is seeing somebody else like really get into it and be excited about accessories for their vehicle. Yeah. It's a good feeling. Yeah. And it really helps when you're discussing this with people and then they pick up on, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. So that makes me feel good too. Yeah. Is to know that I have put in the work, I have done this just countless times, and people know it. And then you get them referring other people to you. It's like, hey man, I heard you're the man when it comes to this stuff. Yeah,
that's what they told me.
You heard right.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of the guesswork out of the process. If it's something that you're accustomed to doing, you've been building out your cars for as long as we have. We don't have to talk about age, but we've been doing it for a long time. And you've got somebody that's wanting to kind of start to get into it. It's fun to watch the spark in their eyes kind of light up, because for the first time they're actually excited about it. Right? Most people buy a car and they get into it and they're like, oh, it's my mode of transportation. It's going to get me where I need to go as long as I'm comfortable. And then when they start to realize that they can do things to it that makes it 100% theirs and like no other vehicle that's on the road, now you've got something that you're proud to pull up in, you're proud to have in your driveway. You want to keep it forever because you've really invested your time and creative efforts into it. And then, it helps that you've got us here that are willing to walk you through the process and help get those creative juices pumping. And
oh yeah,
it's exciting.
I mean, for some people, that's all a car is. It's just give me to point A to point B. Yeah. And even for those people that don't really care about doing a lot of modifications, there's stuff that you can do to a vehicle that will make your commute better. Little bitty small things that you wouldn't necessarily think of unless you've seen it somewhere else. Yeah. Right? That's the big thing, is getting inspiration from other vehicles to do things to your vehicle. Yep. Whether it's looking at stuff online or seeing other vehicles out on the road or riding in a friend's car that has this and like, man, I wish I had that. Yeah. You don't have to be totally into it. You can just be, I just want this to make my ride a little better. Yeah. And we can do that stuff.
It is a never-ending cycle of, you build one out and then you see another vehicle and you're like, oh, squirrel, and you take off after it, and then you start the process all over again.
Yeah. And you kind of have to caution people, like, look, man, if you start doing this stuff, it doesn't end.
No. And it's even worse for us, I think, that are in the business, because we have to look at them and it's like you've got constant, just a barrage of ideas that are kind of coming forth, and it's like, I want to do that, I want to do that, and then you're just thankful that you've got coworkers that are like, I need you to back away from the ledge. Like, you can dangle your toes off the edge of it, but don't dance with one foot hanging over the side of it.
I think it would be hard to be in this business and not be somewhat of a car guy, to look at stuff and be like, man, that looks good. Yeah. And want to do it yourself.
So if you had one thing that you would want to tell our customers, our audience, that you think would just be invaluable information that we haven't already gone over, what would that one thing be?
If it's one thing I'm telling people that are thinking about doing anything to their vehicle, the easiest thing to do is just give me a call and I'll walk you through everything. We can go over what your goals are, like I said, how you plan to drive your vehicle, the look that you're going for, everything, and figure out how to get you there.
Yeah, I think it's great, man. I've had fun.
Yeah, this was really good.
So I think that the next step for today is to go get our grill ordered and maybe look at some roof rack options for old Black Betty back here.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, sounds good. Guys, I want to thank you for joining us today for this special edition podcast going over how you can customize your Toyota vehicle. So obviously we are here at Toyota of Cool Springs. We're at 1875 West McEwen here in Franklin, Tennessee. Obviously, we are available here to help you if you have any questions. I have salespeople here that are lined up ready to take your phone call, answer your emails and messages regarding what vehicles we have in stock, what might be coming here down the pipeline in the next couple of weeks. And then obviously Roman is here to answer any questions that you might have on how you can customize that vehicle that you are just waiting to order so that we can have everything ready for you, customized and 100% yours before you even get here. So if you have any questions, obviously you can reach out to us. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode, and we also hope that you have an absolute blast building your next car. Till next time. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Auto Advice Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please consider texting it to someone who could use it and leave a review wherever you're listening, which will allow us to help more people navigate the ever-changing automotive world. The Auto Advice Podcast provides advice and opinions from individuals featured on the show. It is important to note that these opinions are solely those of the individuals and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Toyota of Cool Springs. Listeners should exercise their own judgment and discretion when considering and implementing any advice or information provided in the podcast. Toyota of Cool Springs assumes no responsibility for any actions taken by individuals based on the information or opinions shared in this episode. Please consult with professionals or experts in the respective fields for specific advice or guidance related to your particular situation. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Auto Advice Podcast.